do I turn this on? How do I turn this on?
No, it's all on when they give it to me.
Is the battery dead?
Mr. Hash, how you doing over there?
Don't we all? Cool. Do you take time? I think it's dead. I don't know, it's my go-to. Alright, Jose, give it here.
Sorry? Has a switch.
Oh, cool.
Cool. Very nice. Alright, there. C1, 295.
Oh, sorry. 925.
It's a very big welcome, everyone. We are here
295.
at the Oakwood premiere. It's what we've all been waiting for. It's the main event here at the Melbourne Champs. And you've joined us at a great time as we've just had our redraw for the last 16 players. We're just waiting for them to come up here to this feature table in this incredible room. We're going to talk a little bit more about all of that in our surrounds. We've actually got a few minutes to do so before they sit down. So Harvey Silver here with you, and a big welcome to Braden Jinks.
Good evening, Harvey. You'd be up and about after what transpired on the MCG this afternoon.
Up and about. They didn't have to tell everyone I'm a Collingwood supporter. I'll lose half the audience
I
straight
th-
away.
well, I think they know already.
Thanks very much.
Our regulars know that already.
Happy to see that, and very, very happy to be here in this fantastic, as we've called it all week, the James Bond room up on the 41st floor. It's like Casino Royale up here. And as I said, it's a really momentous occasion too, because not just is this the main event, but we now have clearly the biggest prize pool of any APT event ever, the biggest first prize of any APT event ever. And I'm going to let you go through that stuff, mate, because it's been quite incredible to see the response, and especially that this has happened at the first time in Melbourne. We really weren't sure how this was all going to pan out coming here for the first time, but Tournament Poker Star of Melbourne has absolutely responded.
Oh, it's been unbelievable. You know, without going into everything that post-COVID was what's happened with poker in Victoria, but there's a real thirst for Melburnians to play, and they've shown up in spades. The 250k guarantee. We had 4 flights for the main, and the guarantee was reached on the 4th entry of day 3. So basically, halfway through the event, the guarantee was already had already been hit, and it exploded after that. And we have $120,000 up top here in the main, which it's astounding. I know of all of our main events, this is the highest price point. You know, usually we've run that 600, but here with the 1650, just an incredible turnout. And with the last 16 players left, I'll bring you the stacks from the other table once we get started as well. But we've got a lot of quality poker, and you'll see here at the top, these aren't the players that are actually going to be on our feature table. We had a redraw and they've been moved over. But even the likes of Tam Truong, like he has been in poker for such a long time, and he's always so deep in these events, and when he's deep, he's got piles.
Which one's Walter? Who's Walter?
So, just waiting for them to call the players to the table. It's only a couple of minutes. And as you mentioned, Jinxie, the names up the top will change. There's been a redraw. When we got down to our last 16, we wanted to get on and bring you the stream when we advertised it, rather than everyone starting to get on saying, where is it? Normally, we do come back pretty much on the first hand after a break, but just to talk a little bit about the week too and what's going on downstairs. If you think that it's a bit quiet up here with 16 left, that beast going on down there, and it is chock-a-block down on the fifth floor.
Talk about smashing guarantees. I'm just going to get the details up for that now, but the room was full the last time I looked, and there was still about 3 hours left of late reg. So late registration for that one has actually just closed, but just being the public holiday in Melbourne, you're either at the footy, and if you're interested in poker, you're at the footy, you're coming down here to play. The Beast has been a flagship event for APT for such a long time, and it's usually called the Get Out Stakes. You know, you can you can make the week a good one by winning the last event of the week, but the guarantee on that was obliterated, just like here in the main event. 120k up top. It would be pretty handy, and there's a few guys I can see that have locked in a trip to Vegas, and they'll be leaving next week. So heading to Las Vegas with an extra 120k in the pocket would be a very, very nice feeling.
And if you do want to know how well this went, you only have to look up in the top right corner there. 399 entries.
Well, we needed... What did we need? 158 for the guarantee. So it was absolutely smashed.
Yeah, so we actually got that, as you say, 4 entries into Saturday. So we were nearly there just after the first 2 on Thursday and Friday. And we hadn't even got to the weekend yet.
No, it's just been an amazing turnout, and it seems like this is a good weekend. This King's birthday.
It's a good weekend for Collingwood.
I've been saying Queen's birthday all my life, so it's pretty tough.
So the plan is that this will play down, at minimum, to the final table, which will come back tomorrow. It's extremely unlikely with the stacks here that we're going to get through this tonight. It is advertised as finishing tomorrow. I suppose if we get down to a final table at a reasonable hour, we may continue through. It'll be a final table of 9, I understand, so we might continue through, but absolutely no chance, I'd imagine, that we would get through much further than that, and the Beast will definitely be coming back tomorrow. There's no way they're getting through that tonight. And I'm sure that's scheduled.
I've just had a look. We had a 50k guarantee, and we're now at $86,000 in the prize pool, completely obliterated. The poker players of Melbourne have turned up here on King's birthday Monday, and we're going to have a lot of really great action for you here for the rest of the night. And as Harvey said, unsure what we're going to do, how far we'll get into the stream if we bag up and come back tomorrow. But once we get these names changed at the top, which is coming, I'll give you a full rundown of stacks on this table and the outer table as well. Of course, we commentate this to you off the delay, so won't get entirely accurate information from the final 16 from the other table, but we'll do our best as the night goes on.
Now, there's our TD Berkey in the foreground. He's just made the call, 3 minutes, so players will start moving their way over, and we are hoping and expecting a pretty seamless stream tonight. But I will shout out to Mike, who we've had a bit of a crisis here in production staff, and Mike has stepped in with very little experience to run the show next to us here, and he's doing a great job and we're just we're wrapped. He said, "I'm all over it. I'm all over it, half." So we're pretty confident that we'll be okay. But if there are any little glitches, please give us some room to move here.
Definitely let us know, because if mine or my mic or Harvey's is a little bit too low or too high, or the table sounds too high, let us know. We can get that changed. Always love the feedback from the viewers. We've got a pretty amazing night ahead, and if you just see in the top left-hand corner, Harvey,
There he is.
we spoke.
always gonna be a Hashem
There's always going to be
somewhere.
there's always going to be a Hashem. We actually spoke about him on Friday.
Guys, we cannot use the phones at the table. If you do need to use the phones, we do need you to jump up from the table. And
Berkey gives the instructions to our final 16.
is there a mic in here as well? Can we hear that? There is mics everywhere. They can hear everything you say.
So again, Berkey just laying down the law, and we talk about Dan Hashem obviously over in the top left, and on the top right corner at the other end of the scale, a mainstay of poker in this country anyway, and a very well-known guy around the traps. There's Dennis up there. He's just been told not to use his phone and takes it out. So no, they haven't started playing yet. We're okay. So the just part of the integrity here. Obviously, we're 25 minutes behind, so there's no info off the stream, but we don't let the guys watch the stream, and if they do need to send a message or take a call, we're expecting them to step back off the table. That will be monitored. Still, I think, waiting on the graphics. It's not all our players there, is it?
No, don't take any notice of that just yet.
That will change in time.
Well, we spoke about Dan Hashem at length on Friday, you and me, Harvey, because during the week, last week, the first week of the WSOP, there was a father-son, another father-son duo were added to the bracelet list. So there's only four father-son duos that have won bracelets at the WSOP. And Dan fell one short, coming second in a bracelet event last year in Vegas. So
His dad, obviously,
Yeah.
is Joe, who won the World Series main event. Okay, we are off and going, and again, there we go. I was about to say those chip stack graphics will change, and they have. So they are the players on this table. We did also see Liam's name up there. Liam Juhu would be known to everybody on the circuit.
I don't want to try to keep, probably not as, I want to stay not biased, but it would really be one of the most incredible achievements if you can pull this off. Back-to-back main event wins in Victoria, of course. It is probably the story of the tournament. If he won this, he won the Crown main event only 4 weeks ago for $370,000. And just imagine winning the APT main event 4 weeks later for another 120. It would be a pretty incredible run to do that in the space of a month. It's probably not been done before and won't be done for a very long time. So Liam Jehu has got a chance of doing that, and he's on an outer table with about 1 million chips. So he's in the mix for sure. It would be an incredible thing for him, a feat to achieve if he does it.
So we go to a flop on the very first hand here, and not a great flop for Dennis here, behind with the ace-5. Get a check from Devore. Dennis, looks like that single 100k chip in, that's what it is. Good call here. I wonder if that's Derek Devore as opposed to Devore Derek, but pretty sure his name is Derek.
He's been around forever. Been around since I started playing, and he's in a dicey spot here already. SBR is less than 1. He's defended the big blind. He's in a very good spot to. He's in a very good spot to double up. So it's going to be interesting to see how he proceeds, because this monotone board, Bob comes out on the turn the river. He's really not going to like it. I'm wondering if he just check raises all in versus Dennis here. As
you can see, with only 205k behind, it can't really just be a call, can it? He's you'd think anyway, but let's see. First hand.
He's having a really good think about it, and it's he's probably just having a bit of a funeral for his hand, even though he's in front. He obviously doesn't like it, but after we defend the ace-9, there's just no way we can bin it. And he's going to be in a really good position to double up on the first hand of the stream.
Probably really hard for Dennis to fold here. He's not going to like it, but it's already 470. He's got to put in another 105, so he does. He's going to see that he's not in great shape. You can see his outs up the top there, or an outright win. Certainly some split possibilities here as well, of course.
Oh,
and he
dear
hits his
me.
5. Can you believe that? So now it's flipped over, and he's just made sure of it by hitting the full house. So first hand, wow. And we lose our first player. Big Dennis goes bang bang with the 5s and takes a really nice pot. What a way to start.
Pretty fucking good. There's definitely a chance.
It's going to take Dennis Huntley over 1.2 million. He's been around forever. He's final tabled an Aussie Millions main event. That was some time ago, but he's in a pretty good position here to make a nice deep run here in the main. Wouldn't be able to say what year Dennis played his first tournament in, but he's been around for a very long time.
He was in the commentary in Sydney with me for a while. Very, very entertaining man. And
did he come in the box, did he?
He did, and he spoke about his history, not just in poker, but in some other pursuits. We copped a bit of feedback for that. I'm not going to go into that again because it was a colourful past that Dennis has had, let me put it that way. But the two things I took out of that was he's been playing this game for a long time. And the other one was he doesn't play with any math whatsoever. He is a feel poker player.
Well, to be honest, you couldn't have said that at a more perfect time because I'm very interested. He's just decided not to defend the King 8 there, covering George. That's certainly interesting. You might have just summed that up, and you were proven right within 20 seconds. So King 8, you're probably potentially looking to defend there, especially covering. It's 15 left, but decided to put that one in the bin.
We'll also know now with over 1 million chips that he's got a fair few stacks way shorter than him, and he doesn't need to do anything too silly, but as I say, he's a very hard one to read because here he goes. He with a 10-7, everyone's out at this point, so he decides to raise it up. Or no, he's just called, sorry, I think. Yep, and you can see a 10 in the window straight away. This could be, Dennis might be on a bit of a heater here. The way
It's looking that way.
Nothing left though for David, so he gets out. But yeah, he has a lot of players with small chip stacks behind him. That's obviously when you've got such big pay jumps, and I'll get you to go through the payout shortly. But Jinxie, that's going to play a big part at the moment. Let a few others get knocked out and get into that pointy end where the real big money is.
Did mention 120k up top. Not sure the worth of the ring that comes with it, the APT Championship ring, but it looks extremely expensive. It's a beautiful piece of silverware.
And of course, like all the big events here, you do get a beautiful glass trophy if you win this event as well. Perry, who again, a lot of people would know Perry, goes around the circuit, picks up pocket 7s.
So if we with the Vor taking that bad beat, that actually got us a pay jump. So every player now guaranteed $6,500 with 15 left, 120k up top, 79k for second, and third, 53,000 in a prize pool that ended up reaching a whopping 578,000.
Quite incredible.
We may have found a weekend where poker could be a bit of a mainstay here in Melbourne. The King's birthday weekend, they've turned up in spades. It might be the way that we can hope to go in the future. Obviously, being in Victoria makes things a little tough, but able to get it done. Ashton Campbell defends the King 9 here. If you are a watcher of the Australian streams, you'll notice the name of Ashton. He final tabled the APL Millions main event last year, which was taken out by Amin Riazadi. I saw he cashed this event too. Can't exactly remember what place he finished, but he was on that FT and certainly got to have a lot of skill to get through that minefield. And here he is with chips in the final 15 of the APT main. Only dealing with about 7 bigs and not a lot of room to move here on the 10-8-5.
Min bet there from Perry. And even that little bit is enough to get him off that. So that's Ashton. Hoping you can give us just a little bit of leeway here tonight. We had a late change in our production, just unfortunately, unforeseen circumstances, and had Mike with the limited amount of training in the production area coming on board and helping us out here. And he's doing us a great job. Might be a few little glitches, as I mentioned earlier. And if you do have anything, let us know if the audio's not quite exactly, or you know, just little bits and pieces. And just as I say that, someone's just hopped on and asked the question of just again some of the little glitches. We may not have actually had those chip stacks exactly right initially, so if you see some adjustments, some jumps and things like that in chip stacks and etc., that'll be what it is. Just got a relative novice doing our graphics and those areas, but doing a fantastic job for us. See the big man in the back there, not the one in the black, the guy in the blue, the boss of the Australian Poker Tour, Tony Hasham, having a good look at what's happening in there.
Watching his nephew move all in with the ace 10 for just under 10.
Gets around to Perry here on the big blind. It's a lot to call with King Jack. As we can see, he'd be dominated and gives it away. So that raise gets it for Dan. And Jinxie, that'll be the main thing we may just see just in these early stages as we're just getting used to the graphics here. There might be a couple of little bits and pieces of things that we see, but
Well, the stack sizes have looked correct so far, so I think
Dan
that's...
just had there was a jump in Dan's chip stack because obviously it wasn't correct right from the start, but we think they're right now. But it'll just be a couple of little things, and it's great to actually have the stream and be here tonight because we had a massive issue yesterday, and I'll talk about that too. There was no stream last night. On a Saturday night, we were so disappointed here that we couldn't bring you the stream.
Dan's mixing it up here. Sorry to interrupt.
Go on.
In the with ace 3 in +1 off 12.
Time to be mixing.
Yeah, exactly right. Obviously using his hand as a raised fold, but it's definitely on the lighter side. Interesting to see how Perry moves in this spot. George in the big blind with about 20. Could just open jam. This does put that one in. And Dan won't get that through. Trying to be a little cheeky there, Daniel Hushen, but he's back under 10 bigs. Perry waking up with Ace King. Do you know if they're off to Vegas, the Hashems? I know, obviously they both went last year.
I would say absolutely.
Yeah.
That they'd be off. Something they do every year. Don't think Tony's going, but well, I'm sure Tony's not going. He's got the Sydney APT coming up, end of July.
Of course, that's been released this week as well. Looks like that is going to be a massive series.
Yeah.
Schedule is on the Facebook page if you do want to check it out.
Potentially a similar sort of feel to this, because we're not going into a club, into an RSL club. We're going into a really nice venue. Talk to you a little bit about this Oakwood premiere as well.
It's the
What
biggest
happened
news.
to Derek in seat one? He went out in the first hand is what happened to Derek, unfortunately. He got,
Quite the bad beat there.
yeah, ace 9 against ace 5, and Dennis hit a 5 on the turn and a 5 on the river just to make sure.
It's a long walk and lift down from level 41 after you've copped a bad beat deep in the main event.
It
Got a lot
is.
of time to think from level 41 down to level 1.
It is. And just talking about that, so this is what sort of affected the stream. Certainly last night we had a real disappointment. We had the Sport Poker team event scheduled and everyone was looking forward to that, especially the idea of bringing a mate in and playing poker with a mate. It's such a individual pursuit. So we're really hoping to bring that to you as Dennis under the gun raises with the ace 10. And about 5:30 last night, the whole grid in this area went out. There was no electricity anywhere. Traffic lights and buildings and this whole complex was out of power. And I understand quite a lot of people got stuck in lifts and it was pretty terrible. And unfortunately, by the time that was sorted out, it was about 90 minutes and everything went on hold, and there was just no way that they could keep going with this main event flight and start the sports poker. So that event got canned and everyone was really disappointed. I know there were people coming specially for that, even some from interstate, and just totally out of the APT's control. And that also meant we didn't have a stream last night. So hope you've settled in for a Monday night special. Public holiday Monday. Tell me mates that we're on. As Ashton pushes in with pocket 7s. It's 180 for George to call here. Actually gets around to Dan Hasham. Can't quite see yet what he's holding. Throws that away. And Dennis in the big. With the ace 10, he decides no good. So George and Ashton go heads up here. It's Ashton Campbell at risk. Pocket 7s against the King Queen.
Looking pretty good so far.
That'll work. So Campbell stays alive.
Georgie losing that flip there, but he's had a good month. took down a main event here recently in Melbourne for around 30k. Been playing for quite some time, but parlay that 30k into something a lot bigger. Very good player in his own right. Had a very good month. Perry's probably going to look to open this one up here in +1 with the 4s. Getting an update from the other table. Looks like Perry is an overwhelming chip leader of this event. There doesn't seem to be anyone over 2 million out there, as George Binns, the King Jack suited. Oh, he's put that in, sorry, for 11. I was going to be very surprised if he put that over Perry's race. He's going to look this one up and get a count. That goes in. We're off to the races again for George. 20 big blinds, only 2 hands ago, and could be out the door.
So he went down to the pocket pair last hand. Let's see if he can hit something here, and he does. And he's fact hit both of them. 2 outs there for Perry, just a 4. Next door.
It looked like one. It was a spade though.
So this time George does hit an important card on the board, and he doubles up.
As we're now at 20, 40, 40k. So that leaves Dan Hashem in a pretty precarious just under 6 big blinds. Now 40k big blind and big blind ante. Perry, even after losing that flip, a commanding chip leader. Been in this position countless times. He's probably going to be the pick of the last 15 with the stack that he's working with at the moment.
So we've got quite a few people on the stream. Get on the chat with us. Let us know if you've got any questions or absolutely some feedback.
Interesting decision here, I reckon. It's right on the line versus George's open. Probably be jamming ace 10 nearly for sure. Ace 9, I'm not sure if it'll cut it. Dan will make the right decision.
He does.
He's put that in. And Georgie snaps it off for 6 bigs. And we are off to the races again. George, 3 flips in a row. And Dan Hashem, all in and at risk.
Could see that 9, but that now leaves George with just a jack or a king. And Dan Hashem, very valuable chips there. Jinxie, you got to win your flips, don't you?
Unfortunately, you do need a lot of skill to be very good at tournament poker, but you need another skill, and that is winning flips when you're deep in tournaments. Sometimes it doesn't matter how well you play or how good you are. There are just some flips you need to win, and if you don't, you're out the door. Georgie, 3 flips in a row. He's won from 3, but he won the one that mattered. Still in it here with 540k.
I suppose with the guys left here, maybe Perry, Dan Hashem, and Liam are the 3 guys you don't want to give chips to at this point.
Campbell's got a pretty easy jam here from the small blind for about 8. And gets that one through Perry.
He's It's our VPIP. This is the number of times players are voluntarily putting money into the pot outside of the blinds. It's a little early here to take much notice of that, but you will find often the players with the biggest chip stacks are the ones that have the highest VPIP. Now, David, who's been pretty quiet up to this point on this table anyway.
Raise. 110.
Campbell on the button is folded. Perry decides to fold 2, and George with a pretty lousy 8-3. So a reminder, we're down to 15. This is the main event here. It's the Melbourne champs at this fantastic tournament poker fest that we've had now for the last 9 days. We're at the Oakwood Premier in Melbourne, and it's the biggest prize pool and the biggest first prize that we've ever had in the Australian Poker Tour. This has been quite incredible. 399 entries.
Campbell been in the 10-9 suited there off 10, I think, 11 in the cutoff. Perry with covering these 2 sacks, I reckon would be starting to look to raise hands like this. Maybe could have taken the 10-9 suited, or we could fold there as well. Campbell takes the conservative route. We are, you just said, do have 15 left. Try and get some stacks from that other table, but I can see Jeremy Lee is still in. Chris Kokonos. 2 Melbourne boys fighting away over on that table. Liam G, who is still in as well. David Bonadio, has been around for a long time. The most experienced of them all, Tam Chuong.
So Walter, who called that min raise out of the big blind, spikes the 10 there. Rockets ahead.
The board Perry's going to look to continue on as well, so Walter leads. Is that right?
Yep.
Leads for half his stack. Certainly something you don't see too often to board. Perry would look to be attacking on the flop, and depending on what the turn is as well. The lead certainly more unconventional there on the 10-2-3 rainbow, but it's worked out for Walter.
Do you know Walter?
I haven't played. No, I can't recognise him at all.
Well, what you have found here all week is that we've had a lot of just local poker players coming, or we would have had to have. Look at the numbers that we've had. There's a lot of players who aren't fixtures on the Australian Poker Tour. There are some. There's a lot of them on this table too, but we've certainly had final tables, lots of final tables with guys we actually don't know very well, and that's that just shows you how starved people in Melbourne have been for tournament poker outside of Crown. Perry, we do know.
Jack 2 suited in the cutoff here for Perry. Knowing Dan's in the big with about 13 big blinds.
It's an attractive starting hand there. A lot of people's favourite non-premium starting hand, that one. The Jack 10 suited. And Dan comes along to see what he can make of it. Perry with the diamonds. And we get 2 diamonds.
I know the stream probably hasn't reached the players as yet, but if it had been about 20 minutes later and Dan had the info that Perry's raised the Jack 2 suited, the King 7-0, as he does turn Dan dead, he might have opted to potentially jam the Jack 10 suited for 13. Perry's got to start putting something into the pot. Wouldn't mind seeing a small size here. He'll know best. Usually what we do see on boards such as this, SPR's about 1.5, 1.6, but small size incoming from Perry, I'd say. Over a third. There's not much Dan can do here now. Pretty even in the second half. It's bottom 4 stacks, 3 big blinds between them, 11, 11, 11 and 14. Don't see that too often. Going up to this 40k big blind level. Chips are going to start to fly pretty soon, Harvey.
So as we said earlier, the pay jumps are pretty significant. Not quite yet, so they're going to want to hang around for sure as long as they possibly can. Get into that top 6 and they really start to jump around. So, yes.
7 and Jack 2 suited. Up Queens now. Something happens here because you're realising this is the 3rd hand in a row that Perry's gone after. Time got the woods, so anyone to wake up behind, they trouble. Apologies, as we saw Dennis fold the King 8 off in the big last orbit. Let's see what he does here with the 10-8.
Peels it off.
30, we should be defending nearly always, so good to see that from Dennis. And 10 on board, obviously been a bit of trouble, but we are 30 deep.
This is a terrible flop for Perry too.
He's still going to look to continue for all of his range and take it down, but it's not
a flop for him. I didn't say he's not going to continue, but if you're sitting there with pocket queens, the ace he probably would have been okay with, but a king, you know, Dennis is just a little bet to see if Dennis might have either of those, and Dennis throws the cards in.
Those cards hit the muck so quickly, I didn't actually see him throw them in. As soon as those chips went in, the cards were in the muck.
Go again. Campbell Ashton under the gun. Holds the Queen 9.
Perry's been getting after it, but I'm not sure the 5-2-0 will qualify. Interesting spot here for Dan. He's got the Queen 9-0 for 10. I'd be surprised to see him put this in, especially because he would have noticed that Dennis and Dave haven't been too active. He does put the Queen 9 in. No snap fold from Dennis, but I'd be shocked.
caught me looking at it there.
And it's just having a bit of funeral for his hand here. He's never going to call this one off.
David, however,
For the title.
pocket sixes here.
Not sure what we're doing here if we're Dave. This is a pretty comfortable get in versus a 10 big blind button range jam. It's counting out the chips.
Doesn't like it though. He's probably thinking at best he's in a coin flip.
Oh, that's a he's got a call now. Oh, what's he?
Still deciding.
Well, he took a chip out of his big blind, so that would have constituted a call anyway.
have,
So
yes.
yeah, there was no way out of it after he did that. We might have missed something from the table mic there, but after thinking for probably a minute, Dave finally puts in the sixes, and it's a pretty good flop. 2 outs folded for Dan, but one of them comes
It's
in on
out
the
of
turn.
Trouble.
Dan Hasham's going to double back up to
Wow.
over 20 bigs.
Gotta win your flips, see.
Yeah, you certainly do. The Queen 9 doesn't look too good on the Ace 3-4. But found it on the turn, especially with 2 of those outs folded.
Seen it so much. I actually saw it in the Hasham Deep Stack of all events. That final table, I've never seen so many players hit 1-outers and 2-outers.
You did mention that to me. It must have been pretty
Not to knock
bad.
people out, just to stay in. That tournament just went forever because no one ever got knocked out of it. And Dan there survives on that flip. Dangerous man with nearly 900,000. It's going to be a walk here for Campbell Ashton with his Jack 9.
Just to recap from around the grounds today, that $86,000 prize pool in the Beast, eclipsing that 50K guarantee. Always gets really good numbers, but public holiday on a Monday, getting an $86,000 prize pool in a poker tournament in Victoria is pretty incredible stuff, given where we've come from. And it looks like if we've got 86K in the prize pool, I'd hazard a guess anywhere between 19 to 22K up top in that. $21K up top in the Beast, as Dave has the easiest jam of his life here with pocket sevens. 11.5 bigs going into the middle. And Perry with... I think the 9 deuce is the worst. Even though 7 deuce is mathematically the worst hand in poker, the 9 deuce looks the worst. Goes pretty quickly into the muck.
If you're looking down at a 7 deuce, 8 deuce, or 9 deuce, you're probably not happy.
Unless you're in your home game, Harvey,
Well, that
where the
was a
7
that was a
deuce,
7
the
deuce,
7
yeah.
deuce is pretty good to look at.
Just going for it, yeah. We're just going to go for it anyway. Yeah.
Sammy, thanks for joining us in the chat. I wasn't at the ground today. Did you go to the game? Loyal Collingwood supporter, Harvey?
No, I didn't know what time the stream was going to get going, so I didn't want to get caught up in the crowd at the G, but it was terrible at home watching that. It was not a good game of footy. Just don't know. Going to be some talk tomorrow between Stephen May and the end of that with Max Gawn. That was, I don't know if you saw it, was pretty ordinary. and there'll be lots of talk.
It's just about the last thing you want to see if you support a club, I think. What happened there with Maxi?
Yeah, the problem for May, I suppose, is that he was yelling and flapping his hands the whole game. It wasn't just that incident, yelling at teammates. And I don't know, he's a very competitive guy, but it just wasn't a good look, I suppose. But
Shocking.
What was a good look was Collingwood winning another game by 1 point. You gave me a ridiculous stat before. What was that?
Well, so Craig McRae's coached 80 games of football, and he already now holds the record for the most 1 point victories.
Of
He's
any
had
coach ever.
he's had 6 1 point victories. He's only coached 80 games out of any coach that's ever coached the AFL.
That's nuts. If you're not in Melbourne, it was cold and shitty today as well. So
shocking
it was a good
weather.
day not to be out at the footy, but they still got 77,000, which was amazing. So happy to be here in the booth at this beautiful complex, the Oakwood Premier here in South Melbourne. We're in a little ante-area outside of this Casino Royale James Bond room up here on the 41st floor.
Couldn't get a better room and a view for a live stream of poker, really. 360-degree views up here on level 41 of the bay and the city. Dennis bins the Queen 10 under the gun. Very easy one here for Perry. He's really getting after it. As
So
well.
raises, but Walter waking up here in the small blind with aces.
There are some scenarios here where we'd love to be able to flat, but for 11 bigs, it is tough to navigate. It's just, we know Perry's been raising so often. Don't want to lose our customer. It's really getting tricky with the Rockets sub 12 bigs. He does 3-bet to 180k, leaving 280 behind. Don't have too many calls in our range here, so if we flat, the alarm bells would be going off for Perry anyway, so Perry wondering what this is. It's certainly extremely strong. I was going to say polar, but I'm not too sure. There are too many other hands we do this with. And that one is going to get through. Nice time to pick up aces when the chip leader raises in the hijack, in the cutoff, sorry. Walter started this final two tables quite short, but now up over 15 bigs.
A few chips just flying around there from Dennis into our microphone. No breaks here for a while, Jinxie. That took quite a long break when we did the redraw and got going on the stream, so we're going to be going through here for quite a while. The players decided to drop one of the breaks, scheduled breaks. Walter now with jacks.
I think he'll be doing what he did last hand, 3-betting to a size. Surprised if this one just didn't go in. Counting out what's behind, but Pretty easy jam here, I'd say. But after that last hand, might have a few tricks up his sleeve. So let's see how he proceeds.
Jack's obviously played pretty differently to aces, so he's not going to want to tempt too many players in. He goes for a big raise from what I can see there. That'll be...
It's like he's a purple chip behind, so raised not all in with, I reckon, maybe 150 behind, roughly. 220.
And Perry it's staying in with that. So Walter picks up some chips again, 2 hands in a row. Nice to get aces followed by jacks, isn't it?
20 bigs. It's been short since the start of the coverage, so he's had a fair run here.
There is a fold from Perry, finally. 7-3, but George looks like he's shoving it all in with a queen 10.
Good enough here for 9.
Yeah, Dennis has a decision. The ace 3.
Wondering why he asked for a count there with the ace 3, but he didn't see the pink chip. Makes a little more sense. As Georgie boy will get that one through. Takes him back up over 10 bigs. Such a great structure here in the APT main. Which is great for our viewers and players. It just means we're going to be here quite a while.
It does. I said at the beginning of this, Jinxie, that if for some possible reason this race through, which was never really going to happen, that we might continue on before or after we reach a final table. I'd say that's unlikely. Probably going to get through to a final sometime around midnight, maybe. Hard to tell, but we will be back tomorrow for the rest of it as Dan in the cutoff here raises. Just a min raise to 80. And this could be trouble for Dan Hashem. It's Campbell Ashton with the queens here, and it's in the big blind. Great place to pick up a monster hand, isn't it? The big blind.
Got a pretty easy decision here. Off 10. Just going to have to rip this one in.
Yeah, I'm sure this is just a little bit of Hollywooding here, just making out that it's a tough decision for him. And he does go all in. And now it's back on Dan.
I wouldn't fault Dan for putting this in. It's right on the cusp. Ace 10. And it does go straight in. Don't fold him. Probably going to have to call that one off. He's just run into the top of Campbell's range. Bit of a seesawing day for Dan. But he's still got 30%.
Well, he's finished now.
As soon as the Queen 3-3 comes, that 30% is gone. Dead to running threes and aces.
It's a flopped full house. This takes all the sweat out of it, if there was any. And it's a big hit to Dan Hashem. Back down to 465.
It's unfortunate there for Dan. It's right on the line. I mean, are we taking ace 9 suited there? Maybe some of the time, maybe not. Ace 10 in that spot. Really hard to lay down, so don't fault Dan at all for putting that in the middle. But there's not much he could have done after the Queen 3-3 flop. It was all over.
So, do you get round to Dennis? And Jack 9. Know how much it is. It's still 40, Dan.
Dave bidding the Jack 10 there off 11.
Interesting. If we get to see what Perry had in the big blind, but doesn't really matter anyway.
It's got their own style, been playing for so long, obviously, Dennis. I just had a look before first cash 25 years ago. As you were saying, you know, math is not a thing that he's ever really thought about when he plays, just has his own thing. And we saw Dave take a long time to put the sixes in. Once Dan jammed the button, something we'd love to be able to snap call in there. And Jack 10, pretty hard to bin off 11 on the button, but everyone's got their own style, does their own thing, and they're down there and we're up here, Harvey. There's 120k up top plus that beautiful APT ring.
Said it from the start of the broadcast.
Sorry, Harvey. George, you're just trying to talk Perry into a fold out loud. It's okay to fold Perry, he said.
Yeah.
And I don't think there'll be any folds from Perry Jeffs.
In fact, he's going to face a raise, and George likes these cards. He's played those. He was all in with those cards before. So
interesting. Perry decides to
just a call.
Perry decides to min click that one. And we have a very, very interesting flop. Middle pair for Perry and an open-ender for George. Perry just clicking George there. Find that interesting. Could definitely just open jam the Jack 5. Perry would know this spot extremely well and will make the right decision nearly always. As George puts that one in over the top. Not sure Perry can put this one down.
Remembering Perry plenty behind.
Well, George doesn't have too many kings in his range here, I don't think. So Jack 5 could be performing fairly well in this spot in general. Perry's such a good player. He might be able to sniff this out.
Potentially put him on a jack though, and he's got a poor kicker. Flush draw maybe.
Just a lot of our King X we jam over the min click, I would dare say, in this spot, even with ICM and 15 left. But Perry just wondering if that dangler with his jack is no good. I'd be surprised to see him put this one in. He does.
Okay.
He's got it. It had to be done. It had to be done. Perry knew it. Just wanted to take a bit of time to consider his decision. Still got 40% equity, George.
A few of those outs you can see have already been dealt. But that one comes out now. It's a jack or a 5. And George
is going to double up.
The queen and survives.
Can't fault Perry there at all.
I was going to say before that hand came out, that, yeah, everyone has their style. One thing that I vowed to do and kept to that is I do not criticise play of the players. As you said, they're down there, we're up here, and sometimes at best it's interesting. But I'll never say it's a bad play or a wrong play.
I love sitting up here watching it. You've got people that have been playing for, you know, absolutely not speaking out of turn here at all, but think about players like Sean Oy and Amin Riazadi with millions of dollars of earnings, and they just win wherever they go. Amin's openly says all the time he's never done any study in his life. He's just pure feel, pure reads, pure everything. You know, solvers are not the way Amin does it, and he wins basically more than anyone in Australia. So everyone's got their own way, and Sean Oy, even a few years ago, both of them have won an API Millions main event. They just do their own thing and they win. As Campbell here with Ace King.
Decides to bump that up to 15.
Campbell deciding to 3x the Ace King here. Don't see that too often these days.
That's why I said it like that. That was a
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. It gets Perry out. And it gets it done anyway. Campbell looking like he's still sitting in the outer at the MCG today. I just wonder if he is planning on getting that puffer jacket and the hood off at some stage. It's not warm in that room, but it's certainly not that cold.
No. Said before, Perry has been getting after it, but not sure the Queen 2 is going to do it here. And that sounded like an all-in from Walter. And that's going to be for about 12 effective. Oh, Dan's got a real decision here.
Oh, wow. You would know that Walter has played 2 hands since we've been watching. He's won them both. He was very strong in both as well. So it is a decision.
He doesn't like it, Dan, but I feel like this is a really hard one to toss away. But you are right, Harvey. The 2 hands he has played, he's had aces and jacks, and then he led it with top pair. It does change the range a little bit. He's not jamming potentially the hands that he should be, but King 10 still is probably doing too well for 11. Dan does put it in. Don't fault him at all.
So he's dominated, but not terrible shape. Still needs to hit a king or a 10 here.
It's one of the worst cards in the deck for Dan, the heart. And that's going to be it for Dan Hashem. Bit unfortunate there. Probably had to call the ace 10 off before when Campbell woke up with the queens. King 10 there is a pretty tough spot. Usually we probably want to fist pump, get that in for 10, but in this spot with 15 left, especially with that Walter jamming into us from the small, makes it a little bit more tougher than it would be usually. But it's a really tough one to get away from. I mean, if you think about what else we're calling there, you know, King Jack, we'd probably just look at our cards once and put that straight in, and King 10 a rung below. Don't fault him for putting that one in.
Walter proving you don't have to play a lot of hands. Just max your wins.
God, he's nearly got 30 bigs. Walter played 4 hands.
Yep.
That's all we need to do. Just picking his spots. And that takes us down to 14. And that will mean we will get another player over from the outer table. Yes, we will. We'll be bringing someone in from that outer room and even up these tables, and we'll have 7 and 7. So we'll see who that is shortly. Georgie boy.
Bit of action here too as Dennis picks up 10s. Big one.
I'm interested to see how Dennis proceeds here. We know he's got his own style, but
I know how much you love your kings and jacks and that. I mean, it's just every hand you've had that.
One of my favourite hands.
Almost every hand.
he's just going to opt to see a flop. Dennis?
King and jack, I'll be a bit iffy.
Queen 6-6. Got the backdoor spades working as well. Wouldn't be surprised if George didn't continue here. He does.
Yes.
Going anywhere just yet.
Well, it was a fold.
Oh, it's check raise, sorry.
It was a
Okay.
fold from George. See,
Everyone's got their own style.
Yep. And that's not a terrible flop for tens anyway.
Yeah, I think
6-6, so
we do want to keep George's bluffs in though, and obviously not to know he's got the king nine of spades, but had that spade working, so there's a lot of cards there that George would have double barreled on.
and as you speak, we are getting a new player.
It looks like Liam Jehu
Ah,
back on to the feature.
looks like he's got decent chips too, Liam. Find that out shortly as Campbell looks down at King Jack Diamonds under the gun. We are obviously using the 4 colour graphics. Does confuse people a little bit because you're not seeing the red cards, but they are diamonds.
That's certainly an interesting decision there to bring the King Jack suited for 20 under the gun.
And George again.
Thought he'd be getting after that. Have gone up a level though. So we are at 50k big blind. So 19 bigs folding the King Jack suited under the gun. Wouldn't have been surprised to see George just slam the sixes in for about 14 from the hijack, but opts to raise. Wouldn't have mattered anyway, as it is Liam Jehu joining us on the feature table. And we'll get his chip stack onto the graphics shortly.
None of those big pink ones, so it's probably not enormous. It still looks decent.
It looks like 850 is my guess,
All right.
if he's got his stacks in 20s,
See
which
how
he
close
should.
You are. There he is, 865. Well done.
Close enough, close enough. I robbed him of 15k there. So Liam joining us on stream. As everyone would know that's played with him, really does like to get after it. A great player to watch and commentate, so he's going to keep things pretty interesting, no doubt about it. And he probably really is the story of this main event with 14 left. If he can pull off back-to-back main event wins in the space of 3 weeks, of course, taking down the Crown main event only last month for 375,000. What a feat it would be to achieve that in a month. As
David, who's been incredibly quiet, decides to push in. And
This
he
has gotta
sees
go
that
in.
Campbell now with a wry smile.
we just saw Campbell bin the King Jack suited under the gun for 20. This is for 7 bigs, I think it looks like. This is going to be hard to put down. He's talking his way through it.
Wow.
He puts that one in the bin.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be okay if you...
No, I'm just surprised. I'm not saying that's not the right play. I'm just surprised. And again, probably David's table images, you know, there's something there. I think that's the first hand he's actually pushed some chips in, so may have something to do with it. Not sure, but
Very hard to fold a pair there for 7. I think it was around 7.
yep.
But can't fault him there either.
We're going to be here for a fair while. So if you're sitting watching the stream on YouTube or Facebook, maybe on Twitch, let your mates know that it's on and there's some live poker
Welcome
inside.
to the
It's Liam.
table, Liam.
Sits
Pocket
down.
Kings.
Yep, and this is
Dealing with 17 bigs here. So you'll have to raise this one up to 100. Oh, hello. I heard an all in. Direct
it.
to the left.
we'll get round.
Was
to
that
see who
Dennis?
That was. It's not
Oh,
Dennis.
couldn't be.
It's in fact Campbell Ashton.
This
Oh,
is
no, it's David. Sorry,
David's.
David.
Just the cooler here, unfortunately, as Liam on the second hand of coverage that he's sat here in the main with Pocket Kings up against the 10s of Dave Moxon. After Lamb raises 9 bigs and pocket 10s, it doesn't get much better than that, but he's run into the absolute top of Lamb's range and absolutely nothing that he can do. On the ace 8-8, nothing doing there for Dave. 4 of clubs on the turn, 10 and a 10 only will save Dave, and the deuce of spades on the river seals his fate. And Liam, within two, is now the chip leader on our table. 1.5 million chips as the Kings hold. And we say goodbye to Dave I think that's wrong. So I think Dave's 14th.
14th.
Yes. So we've got 13 remaining.
Might have actually been 13th. Might not quite have updated those figures up the top. May have been 13th. We'll give you the payouts anyway. It'll all come up on the socials, particularly Facebook. That's where you want to follow all of this. Has the most detail. If you're not watching the stream on Facebook. I think that might have been 13th. And it's good to be a good player, and it's also good to sit down on your second hand and pick up kings.
Well, that was, if we do have 13 left, that is a 2K pay jump now. So every player guaranteed 8,500.
Welcome to the table, that one.
And $120,000 up top for our victor of the APT main, of course, with that championship silver ring to go along with that 120K. 79,000 for second, and third will be $53,000. 40K for fourth, but all players now guaranteed 8,500, as we just want to confirm if it is 15, 14 or 13 left.
You know, it's definitely not 15, so just try and confirm that with our TD.
Of course, we are commentating this to you off the delay, so...
Oh, wow. Have a look at Georgie boy. Hoping Perry gets a little bit jiggy with this.
Surprised to see George not jam the twos there for 14 after Perry's limp. Obviously doesn't play too well post unless you flop bottom set, which he's done here.
Plays in his favour here. Just waiting to see what that raise is. Doesn't look like a huge raise from Perry. Maybe just min raise. So there's a call.
Six of spades on the turn here, not much doing. Perry would have barrel many turn cards. I'm not sure if this is one of them. Comes with check.
George is going to bet here. I don't think he wants to necessarily get this to a river. Well, he'd like to get it to a river, but I think that he'd like get some more chips in the pot. And
bang on
out
half
it
from
goes.
George. So, yeah, I think a lot of players in that spot would probably just jam over Perry's limp there with the pocket twos for 14. But George certainly had a great month, knows what he's doing. Flopping bottom set makes things a whole lot easier. Seen Liam at the top of the chip counts there, 1.5 million. A lot of love for Liam in the chat as soon as he sat down, wasn't there? Everyone in the comments getting behind him. An incredible run he has had in the last month.
Wouldn't be surprised if some of his mates who are already over in Vegas will be getting onto the stream shortly.
Well, I've got a story for you, Harvey. Liam may or may not have won his way into the WSOP main event recently, and the flights are booked. So 120,000 would be going a long way for Liam Jehu in Vegas, as he did win a main event satellite earlier in the week. Pretty incredible stuff.
Wow.
It's just on the run of a lifetime. The young Melburnian, as George has... Oh, this is it. For George, I'd say Walter is going to snap this one in.
That's just about going to be it for... Well, Walters... Let's just see what happens here. He doesn't like it. Certainly doesn't like it.
I mean,
it sort of plays itself, doesn't it? It's a small blind shove. You wake up with ace queen.
this is
So
the
he's now
easiest.
thinking about pay jumps. There's no question he's thinking about pay jumps. And
I mean, we've got to win the tournament as well, Harvey. This
I
is
know,
the
but
easiest.
if you're winning the
get in it.
tournament, if you're trying to win the tournament, the money's already in. Like, there's no question the money's already in. He's just thinking, this is a guy neither of us know, and he might have found his way here without having a whole heap of tournament experience as well. So sort of understand. It's basically for his tournament life.
It's the easiest get in of his life.
Of course,
Put the
but-
chips in, Walter. Come on, let's do it.
But I can see the other side. He's probably thinking, if I can get in the top 10, I can make a bit of dough here. And now he's been put to the task. I'm going to give it to him when he turns his cards over. What were you thinking about? But just going through all of this. It's beyond counting chip stage. This is just him fighting with himself. Let you see, I can see what's going on here. For your experienced player, this is just such an easy call.
Don't do it.
He's gonna.
He's at pain in this one. I think it obviously is for 19 bigs, but we saw him lead the.
Yeah, he's thrown him in. You can see this guy's playing differently. His money's obviously very important to him, and he's just not prepared to risk his tournament at this point. And for most of us, that's just a shake your head play. But as I said, I can't criticise players and why they will do what they do. And in the end, when he watches the stream, he's going to realise he was in a coin flip, and it probably wasn't a terrible fold in that position. Getting a bit of support too on the chat there, but it's not something that we would have expected there at all, Jinxie, and can see by your face you were absolutely expecting a call there.
I mean, we saw him lead when he defended the Queen 10 versus Perry, and it came 10-3-2 rainbow, and he led for half his stack. It's not something you would see quite often, so Walter potentially hasn't played too much, but you know, bidding the ace queen there is yeah.
And Liam now with the pocket fours. He's against the player I'm going to dare say he knows reasonably well here.
For sure. We'll just look to defend this always. The month Liam's been having, wouldn't be surprised to see a Queen 4 deuce. Instead, he's been flop stone dead by Queen Jack. Actually, a good board for Liam to not lose too many more chips.
Background, we can see that Walter's just slid the chair back and is probably texting, "What did I just do?" As Perry bets, and Liam throws that away. And it's not going to be until a while later that we're going to be able to comment on that Walter fold, as much as it seems quite strange. I just feel he's a kid who is looking to make as much money out of this as opposed to necessarily win this event, and he just wasn't prepared to risk his tournament at this point. And it's
in the words of Doug Pogg, sometimes it's just your time to die. But he might have been ingenious in the end. The flop comes 7 high, and we've got egg on our face up here. But tournaments, it's very, very hard to make money out of poker tournaments, and when you run deep, you've got to capitalise.
Or get really good cards like Liam. As he picks up 9s here.
George getting after it here in the cutoff with Queen 8 off 20. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh no, Dennis has got 28 in the big. Liam could jam this in. He could just whack it in, I think. I wouldn't hate it. George really getting it after it with the Queen 8. The jam will be for 28 effective with Dennis behind. He does move it all in. I thought that's what we'd see. And Dennis again.
I think I'm glad you did that.
Not sure what he's too upset about, as this will hit the mark pretty quick. Georgie trying to get away with one there, but doesn't get past Liam. Back up over 1.5 million.
See Jackson Warren in the chat there. Thanks for the comps there, Jackson. Behind George and also behind Dennis. Supporting those two. Jackson got through to day 2 of this main event. Jinxie. It's a bit short, unfortunately. 16 bigs.
Do you know if he cashed? I'm just kind of have. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. But, very good poker player in his own right. It's been down here a little bit. We had the Warren tournament very early on, which he played in, and it's great to see him down here.
Just some notables. Speaking of that, notables that have busted after making the money. Nick Oberman out in 42nd. Of course, Nick came 3rd in the Melbourne Champs, the event that Liam won. So he's had a good month as well. Jerome Tan, I see Mincash, Dan Gabriel, Yoon Kang, who's been a feature of the APT streams for some time. He made the money. Sean Ragazzini. And Aussie Millions winner from a few years ago, Wonky, Vincent Wan, out in 18th. Mutton Kozlov's busted in 19th as well. So there are some of the notables that made the money and have since busted. And of course, our unfortunate bubble boy, Quan Din, known as Mr. Richmond. Everyone knows him with that old Richmond hat he wears all the time, was our bubble boy in the APT main. It's all about what's happening here.
I don't think the graphic was right there as that raced through. I don't think that Liam had pocket 9s there and folded them that quickly. So that might have just been a
Is Liam on the button?
No,
yeah, so
hangover.
that's the one thing that does happen. The only issue that we ever have with the RFID is that if we'll pick up the repeat hand behind. As we've got some confrontation here, George decides to flat the ace-jack in the hijack versus Perry's open. And it's come ace high. Going to be a lot more chips into the middle here for sure. Perry checks. He's been able to identify that this flat off 17 with 13 left is actually quite a strong range. He has flop top pair. Such a smart, clever player. You can just tell he's probably already not liking this. Obviously can't fold just yet. Four of clubs on the turn doesn't change too much. There are some chop outs though. For Perry. Is he going to come with check again? George is going to have to continue it here. He's in great shape to pick this one up. Perry does come with check. Surprised to see George not fire a double barrel here. It does go in.
Wow.
325, leaving himself 400 behind. Perry is in a really tough spot here. He's been able to realise that this flat at this depth is a very strong hand. Ace-9 might not be performing the way he wants it to be, and it goes in the bin. Amazing
Really good
from
player.
Perry Jeffs.
What a good player.
He's being able to identify that, of course, Perry's a great player, but on the ace-high board, he only lost another 1.5 big blinds.
That's what I'm saying.
That's all he lost.
What a good player. You minimise your losses, and so many players see that ace on the flop and they just think, oh, Christmas.
Yeah.
And he's actually been able to identify that he was miles behind.
You know, if we construct our ranges properly, which Perry's obviously done, there are a lot of other players that would have likely just continued on the flop and fired the turn, just able to realise how strong George's range is there. Ace-Jack's probably one of the worst hands he actually shows up with if you really think about it. And he lost 1.5 big blinds after the ace-high flop. Amazing stuff there from Perry Jeffs. As we have another spot here for Liam, sizing up Walter's stack. He'd be 3-betting this if he knew Walter folded the ace-queen before, but obviously wouldn't have that information now. So the ace-10 goes into the muck.
Gets around here to Perry. The big. He's not going to play. Walter giving off the impression of an incredibly tight player, and it's not just an impression. He is incredibly tight at this point. He's only played absolute premium hands so far. Or a little try with the pocket fours, and again the image getting him through.
Yeah, ace-queen fold has already been doing the rounds. Harvey, a lot of people talking about that hand.
Yep, so don't know if the guys in the room in the ladder watch the stream, even though we're behind, but they do have some of these guys have people railing in that room, even though they might have just left. There's a little spectator spot there at the bar as Dennis finally gets, I will say, a playable hand. He loves to play. A decent raise too.
190.
How much?
190.
Dennis comes with the 4X with pocket jacks.
Fold. Fold.
Around to George. 6-3, so Dennis
I bet you get the jack.
picking up some chips after being very, very quiet for a while, and now we hear him.
Dennis raising with the jacks and immediately telling the whole table what he had.
Walter, could I get your big line? Thank you, 50,000.
We'll just move on from that one.
So we did get asked a little earlier in the chat there, Jinxie, are we playing down to a winner tonight? We are not at the pace this is going. We're definitely getting down to our final table, and it may just depend on what time that is. We go beyond final table, but we are coming back for this one tomorrow, and we will be coming back at the end of the beast tomorrow as well on the basis of the number of entries down there on the 5th floor.
Campbell with a decision here for 13.5. I doubt this one will be getting folded. does put it in.
Safe flag all in. Fold and fold. One folded.
Actually, with Walter in the big blind,
Thank you.
can open up our range just a little bit. Twos definitely qualifies there as he's now over 16 bigs. Campbell, 13 left here in the APT main. So 6 on this table and 7 on the outer. See if I can get
Beautiful.
some update from who's on that outer table. See, Jeremy Lee is still in.
Raise to 100.
Tam Truong, a legend of Australian poker. Chris Kokonos, he's still in, as well as David Bonadeo. This is going to be some final table if a few of those names make it through.
As Perry again picks up sevens.
The 5 re-raises to 250.
Decides to 3-bet the sevens here. See how Dennis proceeds with the ace-jack. Perry, of course, being extremely active.
250 to call, Dennis.
So there's no math here for Dennis, as we've mentioned. This will just be his feel and his read.
I mean, we saw that with the 4X with Jacks only a couple of hands ago. Proved you right yet again, Harvey. Does his own thing.
These, I think, at the very least, he's going to have a little flop here.
50, yes. Call. Righty heads up.
So you go to the flop, hoping to get lucky. Is Dennis. In fact, he gets extremely unlucky. Perry
I mean,
hitting a set.
a lot of players in Dennis's spot, especially versus Perry, would just jam in the ace-jack. So he might be lucky in terms of the fact he just wanted to see a flop. No diamonds working either. Perry flopping, Dennis close to dead.
Bet 150 from safe flag.
I don't think this
Comes
even
with the
needs
small.
to be much. I don't think Dennis is staying in here.
Comes with a small size. Love seeing what these players do as
in,
Dennis is
alright.
going to see a turn now.
So
Really interested to see how Perry actually proceeds on this turn. I know we have a set. How much 9x is in the range of Dennis Huntley? SBR is less than 1 now. Why this is such a great job is to see the quality of player and how they attack really dynamic spots such as this. 10 of spades on the turn. Can't wait to see what decision Perry makes here.
is he very confident here, or is he fearing perhaps the flush possibilities? Does he have to bet to get him off it? He does decide to go all in.
SBR being less than 1. Very hard to really think about how much 9x is in Dennis's range, and there aren't many, if any. Probably just specifically pocket 9s. And Perry is fist pumping in his head. Now he's avoided the snap call. He knows Dennis is in a bit of strife. Just wondering what's going through Dennis's head here. Must be putting Perry on some kind of draw where ace-jack could be good against. Can't think too many combos of hands there would be, though. It's really giving this a good think. And he puts Perry on 9s, which would leave Dennis pretty dead as that one goes into the muck. Maybe could have just been that one on the flop, but decided to see a turn, and it's lucky an ace or a jack didn't roll off there. It would have left him dead, and he's back under 14 bigs.
Of course, a 5 was going to hit.
Walter floating the button here with the king 5 off. Certainly speculative. Looks like Dennis has led. Walter has called. We're really getting down and dirty in the weeds here as Dennis improves to 2 pair.
Can you believe how this works?
Well, I mean, I'm sure Walter probably should be here in the first place. The king 5 off. Especially deciding to limp. Not holding a club in our hand. It's probably one of the worst cards in the deck, so I reckon Walter can look to bin this one pretty shortly, but he certainly seems quite inquisitive. So what tends to happen when we deviate pre, our mistakes tend to compound as the rest of the hand goes on, the flop, turn and river, and now we find ourselves here in a spot we probably shouldn't be, and it's going to cost us some chips. It's counting out. This could be a raise. He's counted out a stack of 550, I reckon, and that is a raise. He's turning his hand into a bluff. No club in hand, but decides to go for it anyway. And Dennis Huntley with 2 pair. I'm not sure this is going to work.
So this is all about feel.
Oh, he's just clicked him in the end, 440. So Dennis getting
virtually everything for Dennis.
Well, he's getting a great price. His hand's going to be good, often enough. Dennis thinking this one through. After Dennis leads the flop and the turn going check, check. We do have some flushes in our range, but maybe they just get in on the flop after Dennis leads, so he might be able to sniff this one out. He's pretty high up in his range himself. Just something we weren't expecting to see from Walter, of course, folding the ace-queen before, but going after it in a spot like this. Dennis still in the tank. He's getting too good of a price here.
I suppose Walter's story makes sense if he was on a flush draw, just looking at the betting, but It's with it. Dennis can work his way through that, and he does. He does work his way through that.
He is decided to.
Good stuff from Dennis.
Certainly interesting hand that was. Dennis is pumped,
Yeah, 5-8.
and he wants the chips. He wants the
Dealer's
chips in his
just
stack.
Figuring it out there. I think Dennis just called that. I don't think he just re-raised with the last little bit of his chips. I'm not sure. Couldn't hear the table, but it wouldn't have been more anyway, much more anyway. It only would have been another 50. So he's pretty happy with himself. And interestingly, for Walter, who's really been tight and played only with big hands, first time he gets a little bit out of line there, and it's cost him. As you say, probably shouldn't have been in there in the first place. And he hit that bottom pair on the flop, and that's sort of given him some encouragement, and in the end he's finished up losing a fair few chips as George raises with the ace-9 and Dennis now with the king-9 suited. Let's give you the latest on what we're doing with the stream after this hand. Give him some advice, and Dennis
I like this call from Dennis because we saw George raise the Queen 8-0 before, not sure that that's got information's got back to them, but King 9 suited does do a lot of flatting out of the small in a spot like this, so I like to see it from Dennis, and we'll see a flop, not much doing there for him. Certainly seen some conventional stuff in the last hour and a half.
Craig Abernathy coming in on the chat. Lovely to hear from you. Yes, we did say that there wasn't much that was conventional about that hand, but Dennis, again, just so much experience, sniffed it all out.
He's going to float here with the backdoor clubs, 2 overs. King high, good some of the time. George is continuing with hands like Queen Jack, 9-10. Jack 10, but it's going to... This looks like Dennis is going to turn this hand into a bluff. George definitely got a call here some of the time, but is Dennis a player we'd call against here with this hand? We'll soon find out. Looks like he could be turning his hand into a bluff. He's counted out quite, no, but they're just going back into his stack, sizing up what he'll have behind if he decides to call. Not a hand we'd look to turn into a bluff, I wouldn't have thought, but he's just going to look Dennis up. Had to be done. An ace high will be good. Great call there from Georgie boy. 1.5 million now. It's an important pot. It's towards the top of the chip counts.
No, because I sensed out your dishonesty, so I kept you honest.
No, it wasn't dishonest. It was an honest bet. Honest bluff.
I just honestly have king high, guys. I just honestly have king high.
Lines are up. 30.
Suited.
30 small. 30,000 and 60,000.
Can't do much else.
It's going to be at 350. I don't know whether you would have called that.
No one will probably find.
60 to call.
Not a ball there.
60, yes.
30-60, isn't it?
Correct all.
Correct on Monday.
Breaking 40, guys. Just to keep short. club sandwich time. Club sandwich time. Yeah.
Yeah, I timed up the club sandwich thinking I'll be able to have it on break now, and I'm down 40 minutes.
So, I mean, informed now by the tournament that we are playing down to final table tonight, which is our last 9. We're going to resume tomorrow. I think that's going to be at 1:30 on the stream. So you can plan your day around that, guys. It's going to be a final 9. We don't obviously know when we're going to get to that, but we are going to bag up at final table tonight.
I know, I thought I'd already gone, sorry. I thought I found half an hour ago.
Walter decides to raise off 7 or 8 with the king 10 suited. It's probably time to go. He's given himself a chance to get away, as Campbell's going to put in the ace queen for sure.
Not yet. Still got chips. 630 fold. 630 fold.
Might have saved himself here, Walter, because probably should have just put this one in from the hijack. Instead, he's decided to raise, leaving himself with 6 bigs behind, and just deciding now whether it's time to go with the king 10 suited. And decides to put that one into the muck and survives again to live another day, does Walter.
Just getting some feedback about the phones up here. I'm just going to confirm again to all of you that the players are not watching the stream. They're not allowed to watch the stream on their phones. The Dylan and the TD are watching all of that. And if they use the phone, it cannot be in a hand and put their hand on the phone. And if they are getting on the phone, they just need to slide back from the table or get up all together. So if they've got mates watching the live stream, it's a bit like getting railed in here. Those mates could be up here with them. If they get up off the table, they can go and tell them things off the stream, but they are not watching the stream at the table. And a reminder that we're 25 minutes behind. We are commentating this as you're seeing it at home. We don't know what's going on in there live. As we're 3 to the turn here. So it's Perry ahead here. 9
Heads up.
goes to heads up. Get a check. Dennis.
For the
Just our tracking is just stuck there for a bit. I can tell you that. There you go. There's the 10. It's actually it's like it's a bet from Dennis. 100k.
250 from them.
Stacks really evenly distributed here. 11 left. So we need 2 more eliminations.
Dennis 60 to call.
Sorry about that one. Few difficulties today, but we're back on track. Just to recap, we will bag up with 9 left. So
60, yes.
that will mean
And
the next 2 out. Won't be on the FT. We'll bag up and we'll come back tomorrow at 1 o'clock for coverage of the APT main event final table. Liam Jihu looking to capitalise on an incredible month as Dennis opts to limp here with the 8-6 suited. Oh boy. Perry looks very interested. He's more than interested. Comes with raise. They're going to put the foot to the floor. Interesting
200 to call, George. Dennis.
to see Dennis limp here with the 8-6 suited. Haven't seen him do much of that. Seems to play face up and half 4x with the jacks before, and limping here when ICM is really a consideration with the 8-6 suited. It's interesting to say the least. He looks very, very interested too, and he's going to see a flop. Well, we're getting down and dirty here in the APT main event with 11 left.
Check a bit, Dennis.
Nothing doing there for Dennis. Perry with the gutter, but he's all over this board and he'll be taking this one down. Dennis just deciding to give 3.5 big blinds away to Perry, who is back in the chip lead on our table.
Bet 125.
125k bet is going to get the job done.
Oh. Call Dennis. Call. Fold. Fold and fold. 3, 4, 1, 4. Call, change it away. Okay. Check that.
Oh.
Check.
Just like that flop.
Check. 100. That was a bet. Oh. And out. Dennis bet 100 again.
What could you not with the flop? Yeah, what could you have there?
Really confused about that. Just it looked nice, yeah.
And your big
Just
blind
got a little
60,000 and then
bit of an issue here with the graphics, guys. Hoping that we can remedy that out here. We've lost pretty much all the graphics on here at the moment.
I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't think it's possible, but like you get into that territory.
Fold. Fold. Walks all in for 170,000. Fold.
Ooh.
Correct.
I wouldn't even look.
170.
As Walter decides it's finally time, the pocket eights have got to go in here. Dennis with the decision. Can't lay this one down, I don't think. He does agree.
2 overs.
And Walter is going to be in a really good position to double up and get back into this thing.
17.
Have 9 big blinds if the eights hold.
For Dennis.
Dennis with ace 4.
You call that under the gun.
That's how I should like, thanks. That's a good one.
And right smack bang into the window is the ace of diamonds. And Walter looking for the last remaining 8 in the deck. It's not there. And that'll be it.
Wow, so just like that, Dennis picks up chips and Walter says, fare thee well. And we're getting nice and close now, Jinxie, to our final 9, our final table.
So we lose one more and we bag up and come back tomorrow, and we're going to play through till 9, of course. But Walter going to be lamenting that ace-queen hand. He's got his own way of doing things, but that's what happens. Just blinded down, had to get the 8s in, run his equity, and he's out in 11th place. Great run nonetheless, 400 run a tournament, 130k up top here, but sometimes, as I said before, Harvey, just got to go for it. It's your time to die. That's what happens.
What was his payout there, Jinxie, for 11th?
Well,
Going to put you under the
Dennis.
pump here.
11. So 11th and 10th is 11,000. So 11k guaranteed for
It is spicy.
Walter and the next player out. And 9th gets 13,500. 120k up top. Just try and get some info from the other table. It does look like I can see Jeremy Lee there still in, Tam Truong and Chris Kokonos are some of the notables on that outer table. So we'll get info back on the stream if our bust out happens on that outer table, and we'll bag up for the night.
Fold. And 60 to fold. Fold. 60 to fold, Dennis.
8's here for Dennis Huntley.
I'm not really a big fan.
160.
It's 160.
Oh, it's very the garlicky sort of taste. It's up there. No.
So even though the graphics haven't caught up, Campbell Ashton has folded. It's Perry deciding he can't call the 9-2. Dennis Huntley's 8s. Dennis takes a few more chips.
No, I'm serious. No, it feels like he's losing it. Oh, shit, I know. I'll find out. Chris is still in the but I think he's short.
Perry's really going to fancy himself in this lineup. 1.7 million heading into the FT. Liam going to bin the Jack 10 under the gun.
Do you mind quickly get a few?
I'd say 12 months ago he couldn't wait to get his chips in there, but developed so much as a player and
60 to
had one of the best months you could probably ever have. Of course, he's off to Vegas. to play the main. Wouldn't 120,000 be a nice little boost for him when he goes over? Perry here in the small. George, 23 effective, so I'm going to be really interested to see how Perry proceeds in this spot. Does opt to just open jam the 23 bigs into the middle and gets a snap from Georgie Boy. Snap fold, sorry. As Perry closing in on 1.9 million. Of course, waiting for one more bust out as we go to a final table tomorrow.
585. Oh no, 1,685,000. Yep.
Nice timing for us too, Jinxie. I thought we might be here till the wee small hours, so get a chance to get refreshed before we come back for this final table tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. stream.
Yeah, we thought we were in for a long night, but obviously day 2 was always in the schedule as the main
Any good?
final day. Liam G, who gets a walk in the big.
I mean, it's not that good, but
Still be busy downstairs tomorrow with the Beast also completing tomorrow, so have a bit on around here. If you're in the area, if you happen to have the day off, even though we've just finished a long weekend, if you get a Tuesday off as well, come down and watch some great poker
not folding.
at the Oakwood Premier here in South Melbourne, or rejoin us on the stream from 1:30. You with me tomorrow?
I'll be here with you,
Alright.
Harvey, all the way to the end of the main event.
So, George now on the button with Ace King.
Oh, lovely. Our first one I've had it too, it's nice.
20,000.
A little bit spicy, but it's alright.
Good night's sleep will do us well. Come in tomorrow fresh. Play 9 down to 1.
Playing for 120k up top tomorrow.
120.
Definitely going to be worth watching.
Bit of that, honest George.
Looking forward to that. And our last chance to get up here at this beautiful room.
I wouldn't lay this down for everybody.
A lot of players talking about this room.
And because I'm honest, I'll show my
Got a chance to come and play up here.
I know, mate. Very honest. I believe you now, mate.
Dennis.
Bit more of a jovial mood than what's been going on since we started coverage. Been fairly quiet, but Dennis over 1.6 getting a bit chatty.
Yeah,
All in not that long ago, Dennis, so he'll be happy. He's not only getting chatty, he's getting fed. The other thing around here, the food's been terrific. So the cancellation of the stream yesterday, Jinxie, I actually went for dinner up at the restaurant on the 40th floor. It was fantastic. So
I've only
another
heard
thing
good
I can
things.
highly recommend.
I
Yeah.
only heard good things. That view looks incredible as well.
Yep, amazing.
I want to see some hand movements going there.
Yeah, I want to see like some live camera action.
Big
Like,
Well, right, mix it up, make up your own.
Okay, raises to 120. 124.
Of course, it does say under the gun, but
There's 10 left.
it is the hijack. We are 5-handed.
Clear call, Dennis.
Perry takes King 9-0.
We are going to confirm.
Campbell will look to defend the Jack 10.
We're just bagging tonight. We will be doing it first. I believe so.
Players are getting informed now from our TD that we'll be bagging up at 9. One more elimination. We're out of here.
Come take a photo, content photo, my car. I'm still going to take a piss.
Easy defend here for Campbell. Not much doing there for him. Great flop for Perry.
Certainly don't think anyone's going to get too frisky at this point in the tournament. Just one elimination away from being on the final.
ICM just changes things so much, which is really going to suit Perry, putting the foot to the floor. But nothing doing there for Campbell to be able to fight back.
Always.
So, just got the best news, everyone. Braden Jinks will be back tomorrow for the final table. And
You like your steak sandwich?
yours truly, Harvey Silver, will be here with you as well as we get close to that. One elimination away. We're going to have a final table of 9. Players just have been informed that they will be bagging up with one more elimination. And that obviously could be here or on the table in the other room.
Liam bins the ace-6 there in the cutoff. Campbell going to be sending his chips into the middle very soon, I dare say.
Just check the clock then. Leaves a tiny little bit behind.
555.
Good card. Good card.
It's pretty relaxed.
No quality.
The Queen 10 suited. Very can't call with that.
Can't always qualify. Is there one qualifier?
Oh, I think he said no. Not really. Not really. It depends on.
Got a side bet with you there, Jinxie, whether Dennis gets through his meal by the time we get down to 9.
I don't think I can give you the true odds on that.
I'm happy to double up and come back. They might be going to buffer.
We have it all in the call.
What's the pay jump?
$28. What's at risk? Is it actually from 10 to 9?
Yeah, they've got like 8.5 to 11.
That was already happened.
Is it?
Yeah, that's already happened.
Oh, fuck, maybe it's more. I don't know.
I think
10th, 11, K, 9, 13, 5. Survive.
Yeah, 2.5K, yeah.
13.5 for final table.
I'm just waiting,
Shuffle up, we're
I
number 3.
think, for some news
Survival.
Was it a double up?
from the other table.
Who was it?
I think there might have been an all-in there, perhaps, but
Sounds like the shorty doubled
Yep.
from what we can hear.
Done that before.
The whole point is to have you stay in your seats. So.
Yeah, but you're meant to be able to before the hand-to-hand stuff.
Oh, so you
It should be like an opportunity.
Yeah, Liam Bolt. Yep. Dennis.
oh, hello.
This is here for Dennis. It's be interesting. We saw him 4x the jacks before. Let's see what he does here with another premium. 60k big blind.
Dennis races to 120.
Just clicks this one. Campbell here with the
Have a
jack
look.
10 suited.
Just on the button here, might want to have a look. Such an attractive pre-flop hand, that one.
You never usually know what Dennis is up to. Especially just with 10 left.
Going to be a raise, I think. No, just call and the seat of Jack 10 for Perry.
Campbell deciding to flat the jack 10 suited here off 12. Perry now with a decision. Comes with call. George looks interested here. We don't know his cards yet, but it doesn't look like the face of a man that's folding. Very interested. Yeah, that's a jam.
Wow.
That is an all-in from Georgie Boy, and he's run into the absolute top of Dennis He's got 8s here.
eights.
It had to go in. 22 bigs.
And Dennis is all in as well.
Dennis snap rejams.
And the other boys, well,
This is
the
a
cards in shortly.
This is monstrous because Dennis working with 1.5 million would be close to 3 million after these calls if the aces hold here. And he'd be going into the final table with the chip lead. And he is in unbelievable shape to do so.
I did take it finishing before he finished his meal as well, so I've got the side bet going.
This is a massive pot, Harvey.
Fantastic shape, Dennis, and a massive pot.
Whoever wins this will be going in to the APT final table as the chip leader. And 80% of the time, that's going to be Dennis Huntley. 3 million, just under 3 million in this pot. In terms of real money, this flop is worth so much. Is that an 8? It is an 8.
Oh,
it's
Lord.
an 8 in the window for George.
Wow.
And an ace on the turn. It's a spade. It's a spade. Here we go. He's got the spades working.
Spades.
Turns top set. A massive, massive river coming up, and it's the king of spades. It's the king of spades.
Is,
And George will double up. Dennis has lost a monstrous chip lead pot here with aces. That is sick. And Georgie boy with under 3 million. A commanding spot going into the FT of this APT main event. An 8 in the window, an ace on the turn, and a flush on the river.
that's as crazy as you'll see.
That
isn't
is... We're a bit speechless here. Poor Dennis, he is absolutely fuming, and why wouldn't you be? He's not out. Looks like he's still got 5 big blinds behind, potentially.
Not even that. 250 behind.
The joy of no limit hold'em poker tournaments, Harvey.
Wow. And that meal is not going to taste nearly as good now. And George, wow.
Honest George, gets there. Do not leave, guys. We just lost a player on the other table.
And
It's the last hand. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So we've lost a player on the other table. So that'll be it. Dennis will have to come back tomorrow with 4 big blinds. That is some of the sickest poker I've ever seen. It's definitely some of the sickest stuff I've ever commentated on. He's pretty happy. He's pretty jovial here, Dennis. He's taken that one on the chin. But thanks to that spade on the river, Georgie boy will be going into the main event final table tomorrow with a monstrous chip lead. I don't really have much else to say, Harvey.
I'm speechless. It was great poker all night, but we hadn't had some crazy thing happen, and we've basically left it for the last hand.
That'll be it.
Yeah, that will be it, Dennis. Short stack now on 250. George, huge pot, 2.9 million. The other players will come over now with their chips, and they'll bag them up for tonight. We'll be back here with the stream at 1:30 tomorrow. Jinxie, can't wait.
Oh, man, if that's what's left, if that's what's in store for us tomorrow, I wouldn't be going anywhere. With what I can see on the other table, we've got some great local players over there with chips. Perry Jeff's working with just under 2 million, but the story now is Georgie boy there with the flush on the river is going to have a commanding chip lead. Liam Jehu going for 2 main event victories in Victoria in the space of a month. I wouldn't be going anywhere. Can't wait for tomorrow after that.
Yeah, that's just, let's set it up. That absolutely set it up. Hope you enjoyed the stream tonight, and lots of thanks to Mike who stepped in for Matty Marshall, who couldn't be with us tonight and did a great job. Thanks, mate. You did now we've just got to make sure that we know how to stop the stream. That's all. So if you're still watching this at 4 in the morning, we haven't been able to do that. No, only kidding. We'll see you tomorrow, 1:30 for the stream, and sleep well. I'm sure the 9 here, apart from maybe Dennis, will sleep very well tonight. See you then.
Ladies and gentlemen, this week we have the Australian Poker Tour's Melbourne Champs main event flights. This event is a $200 ticketing fee plus a $1,450 tournament entry fee and features a whopping $250,000 guarantee. This event features 30-minute levels, a 40,000 starting stack and unlimited re-entries. Flight 1 saw 66 entries contributing over 95,000 to the prize pool. Flight 2 is tomorrow, Friday at 4 PM. Flight 3 Saturday at 2 PM. And Flight 4 is on Sunday, also at 2 PM. Early indicators are pointing this to be an absolutely massive one, so check our schedule online, get yourself down to the Oakwood Premier and see if you can get your name in the APT history books.